2016 is widely regarded by a lot of people to be the best years of their life, and it's hard to not see why. In the footballing side, Leicester City won the Premier League with the 5,000 to 1 odds, one of the greatest, if not the greatest underdog stories the Premier League and just world football has ever seen. The fact that Leicester City, a newly promoted team, a team that just survived relegation and then went on to win the Premier League, is something we will never see in pretty much anywhere in football. In the Euros, Portugal, another underdog story. Portugal against all odds after coming third in the group stage, not winning a single game in normal time in the Euros, and then they went on to win the Euros even without a Cristiano Ronaldo playing in that final. 2016 saw a rematch of the UCL final from 2014 as Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid went at it once again, with Real Madrid winning, this time on penalty shootouts, Cristiano Ronaldo scoring the winning penalty shootout, which was the last penalty shootout up into Arsenal versus Porto that happened just a week back. Cristiano Ronaldo in 2016 of course picked up the Ballon d'Or, this time for his 4th time in his career after winning the Champions League, scoring the winning penalty and having an amazing season then, and of course the Euros, winning that as well. It is still to this day the biggest landslide somebody has won the Ballon d'Or by. Other pop culture phenomenons of 2016 was obviously the famous, widely regarded Pokemon Go. I've never seen that many kids, and more in particular, I've never seen that many fat kids leave the house since an ice cream truck sale. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I never liked Pokemon Go and never got into it. The thing that was taking over the world that I just didn't get, if I'm being honest, was fidget spinners. I understood match attacks, blades, loved all of that, but when I saw a spinny little thing that just goes around be the peak of entertainment in 2016, I was absolutely confused. Not relevant at all, but I'm still going to tell you because it's my video, so shut up. But what was most important in 2016 that we can all acknowledge was that I started watching WWE in 2016, and I started my wrestling craze, and my wrestling nerd function started from this day onwards, this year onwards. In 2016 I became the wrestling nerd, one of my 3 favorite things in this whole wide world. I make about 1 billion wrestling references a day. If you probably don't understand most of the references, they're wrestling references. So if you don't like the wrestling references, well, I'll let Wade Barrett tell you what I think of that.
I'm afraid I've got some bad news. I knew it. I love when he does that.
FIFA 16. This one for me is a very underrated FIFA. You got your Messis and your Ronaldos, your 14 and 15s that are regarded so great. But your FIFA 16 to me is your Lewandowski, your Suarez's, your 3rd best of the generation, but still so great. But just in comparisons to the others, maybe not as good. Maybe one day I'll do a tier list of all my favorite FIFAs once we've done these Wonderkids. But let's talk about FIFA 16. FIFA 16 saw the first time they added the draft. For me personally, that is the best feature FIFA has ever added. It was such a simple but amazing concept. I remember I used to rush home every day for school to watch W2S build a draft. If you weren't there in those days, you just won't understand how it was so simple and so amazing. But that is of course of what we're doing today. We're going to be taking a look at FIFA 16 Wonderkids. Where are they now? This is carrying on the series that we have done so far. We've took a look at FIFA 14 and FIFA 15's Wonderkids. If you have not checked them out, make sure you check that out already. So let's get into this. So as usual, we're going to do a traffic light system to judge how their career has gone. Green obviously good, amber pretty decent, and red an out and out failure. Ariza Balaga was a wonder kid in FIFA 16. At the tender age of 10, he joined Athletic Bilbao. After so many good couple of seasons on loan, he finally got the starting place at Athletic Bilbao in 2016. He started off with a respectable rating of 74 on FIFA 16. This man had the world at his feet with a potential of 87 to go to. Start off on a downhill, and it's going to start off from a red, not even an amber for me. There's still so much time, as he is still so much younger than a lot of people expect him to be. Ariza Balaga is only 29. Now for most positions that would mean his career is near ending. It still means he hasn't reached his prime yet for a goalkeeper, but I think it's still safe to say that it's a red, as he is still the most expensive signing of all time for a goalkeeper, going to Chelsea for £71 million on a wage of 180k at the time. And the highlight of his whole Chelsea career, and pretty much the highlight of his whole career as a whole, is telling Sarri, I'm not going to come off in this penalty shootout. When that's your biggest moment, your biggest achievement after being the most expensive signing, I think it's fair to say that it hasn't gone that well. A couple of seasons at Chelsea where he did get replaced by Mendy, who for Chelsea helped them win the Champions League. It never worked out, and he became 3rd choice, maybe even 4th choice goalkeeper for a Chelsea team that is sitting mid-table for the last 2 seasons. He eventually somehow made the move upwards after all of that though, and made the move to Real Madrid on loan as Thibaut Courtois was out injured. But even then, he got replaced by Lunin, who is Real Madrid's 2nd choice goalkeeper. So he's the 3rd choice goalkeeper of Real Madrid, and he's probably the 3rd, 4th choice goalkeeper of Chelsea. It's safe safe to say that nobody really likes or respects Kepa anymore, which is a sad thing to see as he has so much potential, but unfortunately this is going to have to be a red. Next, let's talk about Fabinho. A lot of people might not know this, but Fabinho actually played for Real Madrid Castilla team in 2013, never getting that many starts for the main team, but eventually he did make the move to Monaco for 6 million, and that's where we know the Fabinho we all know today, where he had that historic Monaco team with Kylian Mbappe, Bernardo Silva and so many other players that went on to have an historic, amazing run in the Champions League, but more importantly, went on to beat PSG in Ligue 1, and they went on to win the Ligue 1 trophy for the first time in some time for Monaco's history. And then he made the 45 million move to Liverpool, and there was a lot of clubs, Liverpool and Manchester United, that wanted him, and it's understandable why, because at this time he was one of the best DMs in the world, and once he made the move to Liverpool, you can make the argument that for those couple of years he was the best DM in the league, as he shored up Liverpool's midfield in that time. Stint at the highest level was not as long as other compatriots in his position like a Sergio Busquets or a Casemiro or even a Rodri soon to be, who looks like he could be playing for another couple of more years. But it should be said, in that short amount of time, what he did for Liverpool is undoubtedly amazing and an impact that cannot be understated. So for me, it's obviously a green. Fabinho he was an amazing signing for Jurgen Klopp and one of their best players during their prime days. Talk about the BFG himself, Nicolas Sol, 193 centimeters tall. But how was he, you ask? Well, that's a fine question. After spending 4 seasons at Hoffenheim, Bayern Munich decides to spend 25 million on the German centre, winning a lot of trophies, of course, Bundesliga's included, and a Champions League, and then eventually making the move to Dortmund, the rivals. And I can't lie to you, whenever I see a player go from Bayern Munich to Dortmund, it always tells me that they're instantly washed and it's Bayern's useless goods, and he kind of was that useless good. Look, there were some seasons with him that he actually did look like a good centre-back, and then there's other seasons where him being that big and that tall almost was a hindrance to him. So this is going to give me the most ambus one I've ever given, to be honest. It's just a right player, nothing to go crazy about. Before we go any further into this video, make sure you're liking this video, and if you're not already subscribed, a lot of you people watch these videos and are not subscribed, please make sure you're subscribed. I want to hit 1,000 subscribers as soon as possible, a road to 1,000, and if you guys are not subscribing, then I don't know if you guys want more of these, so just subscribe. It's so easy, and if you already are subscribed, then make sure you just like the video. It takes a simple 2 seconds. In this time you could have done it, so let's get back into the video and make sure you do that, please. Shaw in 2016 had the world at his feet, only the age of 21, after being the most expensive teenager signing of 24 million 2 years ago from Southampton to Manchester United. It looked like he had everything ready, set up for him to be one of the best left backs in the world for multiple years, for at least a decade or a decade and a half. He had the potential rating of 88. At the time he was a rating of 78, and this one is quite an interesting one to look at, because if you ask some Manchester United fans, they would tell you that he was one of the best left backs in the world for multiple countless of seasons, and at the very least he was a very useful player during so many manager stints. And then other managers will tell you that he was very useless and was never good. That would be Jose Mourinho. But then some fans will tell you he's a liability with him being injured, sometimes overweight and not even that good. There's somewhere in the middle between that. I do believe for some seasons Luke Shaw was genuinely one of the best left backs in the world. I genuinely think that lockdown season, that 2021 season, I thought he was the best left back in the world, and other seasons he looked like there or thereabouts in the best left backs, or at the very least the top 5 best left backs in the Premier League. But the problem with Luke Shaw for many reasons is that he can't stay fit for some time, and even this season he's looking like he's not staying fit that much, and even then it doesn't look like Erik ten Hag would want to start him as much. And some fans again are asking the question, is Luke Shaw the future? Not that young kid anymore at the age of 28. With Manchester United's rebuild, a lot of Manchester United fans will probably be looking at him being one of those players to get moved on. For me, this one is going to be an amber, just because I think it could have been even better for Luke Shaw. He genuinely, when he was ready, when he was on it, when he looked like he was good, he genuinely showed so much passion and so much glimpse of just being one of the best players in the world. He's going forward was absolutely amazing, defensively was absolutely amazing. Unfortunately, injuries and just maybe not being at the right team to right development at the time didn't help him get to that green level, for me at least. Odegaard, it took a lot longer than I thought for me to mention Martin Odegaard. You easily could have mentioned him in FIFA 15, which he was the age of 15 at Real Madrid, with so many of the players and the coaches acknowledging his skill and talent all the way back when he was 15 years of age. That is still insane to this day. Obviously you see so many young players at the age of 15, 16 or 17 now making their debuts nowadays, kind of becoming somewhat normal, but 10 years ago that That was absolutely insane, especially considering how stacked that Real Madrid team is, that they still looked at Martin Odegaard and said, you're very, very special. But unfortunately for Martin Odegaard, the start of his season, the start of his career didn't go according to plan. Of course, Real Madrid had so many exceptional midfielders. Do I even need to list half of them to you? You know it. So multiple times he had to be sent on loan, sent on loan, sent on loan. And then Zinedine Zidane, during Real Madrid's rebuild era, should I say, during those lockdown seasons, still didn't actually want to play Martin Odegaard. Eventually got sick of it and went on another loan. But this time, this loan was to a bigger club, a club that could show his expertise. And it was at Arsenal, where he impressed Arsenal and Mikel Arteta so much that they decided to buy him for 60 million. Don't know how his story has gone from there. For the last 2-3 seasons, Martin Odegaard has been one of the best central attacking midfielders in the Premier League, captaining Arsenal to very much success, Premier League title challenges, and now UCL quarter-finals. He has been one of the best players in the position for some time, and I think he goes very underrated in the Arsenal squad or just in the Premier League generally. He really is so amazing, and he's still the age of 25. Considering we've all known about this guy for 10 years now, you would think he's in his 30s, but he still hasn't even reached his prime yet, so he's still got so much more to offer. So this is going to be a green for me so far. And in the Premier League, but let's this time go to the city of Manchester, and where we go over to Manchester City, where we talk about John Stones, age 21 at the time, but he wasn't at Manchester City at the time. He was at Everton. He was rating 77 with a potential of 87 plus. Summer of 2016 eventually saw the move of John Stones to Manchester City for 55 million euros plus add-ons. And at the time, John Stones, let's be honest, he wasn't the best. John Stones didn't look like Manchester City's best centre-back, and he didn't look like he was worth his place and worth his starting place. The money that didn't look like it was worth it at first, but then he eventually just grew. And for me, there was always something about John Stones that always looked good, but these last couple of seasons especially is when I think everybody's starting to notice how amazing he is. Pep Guardiola has turned him into a DM/centre-back. These last couple of seasons, you can make the argument that John Stones has been Manchester City's best centre-back ahead of a Ruben Diaz. The man has won 5 Premier Leagues now and a Champions League. This is undoubtedly a green success. I think John Stones has always been underrated. For the last couple of years, he's finally getting the applauded and deserved and accolades he deserves, because he actually is, say it quietly, but one of the best English centre-backs ever in the history of England's game. Stay on the centre-back theme, and in fact, let's stay in the Premier League, because we're going to talk about Garfield's worst enemy. No, it's not a Monday. Let's talk about the cat kicker himself, the pussy destroyer. No, not you, Calyx. Let's talk about Kurt Zuma. 2016, he was age 20, rating of 77 with a potential rating of 87. Zuma had a lot of potential, to be honest, and while I don't believe he ever reached that top level, and 87 would establish him as one of the best centre-backs in the world, or at the very least one of the best centre-backs in the Premier League, I don't think he's ever reached that level. He is a very sturdy, good centre-back, captain and a very good centre-back of a team that is fighting for the Europa League and Conference League for most seasons. So overall, I still think this is a pretty good success. I would go as far as to say a green anyway. I don't think it could be a yellow. Maybe some would say it's a yellow because it should have had the potential to go on to be a world class, in the best in the conversations, but I still think he is really good and quite underrated. Of course, he ruined his own reputation by kicking a cat, but I mean, off-field matters does technically not matter, so don't worry, Adam Johnson. When we do Wonderkids about you, you will be getting a green. Leave the Premier League momentarily at least, and let's talk about Daniel Ceballos in Spain, where he was playing for Real Betis in 2016, age 19, with a rating of 73 to a potential rating to go to 87. I like Daniel Ceballos. This one's a hard one to judge because all the time he keeps being at Real Madrid, there always is better midfielders than him. I don't think when you watch Daniel Ceballos, respectfully for him, he should be starting at a Real Madrid midfield in the first starting 11 at least, but he gives me a good squad rotational player, and I think he understands that is what his level is, and I think he does that pretty good. I remember during Real Madrid's Champions League campaign in 21-22 season, I think he was actually a good squad player and understood coming off the bench to give a bit of energy, to give a bit of revitalization to the team. He had an amazing spell at Arsenal for that lone little period, came back to Real Madrid, and again, like I said, he was never going to start ahead of so many people. Now that at the time it was because of Modric, Casemiro, Cruz, the same old story that Martin Odegaard obviously had, and then Valverde, Camavinga, Chumi, and Jude Bellingham. Now he's never going to be starting over these players. He's very unlucky, and we're going to talk about actually a third Real Madrid midfielder that is also unlucky to miss out on playing for Real Madrid's midfield. So get in the comments right now, see if you can guess it. Like I said, I'll give this one an orange. His honours medal is still pretty good, to be honest, but that's what happens when you play for Real Madrid, to be fair. But I think he's a good, sturdy squad player. Boy Award is given to the best player in the top leagues in Europe under the age of 21. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because for the first time we're going to be talking about one of them and their FIFA potential and all that, and that is Anthony Martial, where this guy said it perfectly best himself.
Martial will be the best player in the world. Martial will be the best in the world.
That might look very funny to look back at now, but at the time it actually kind of made sense. Anthony Martial made the transfer to Manchester United from Monaco for £60 million, and he had a clause in his contract that was saying if he wins a Ballon d'Or, Monaco won a bit more money. Obviously that clause, I think it's safe to say, guys, I'm going to go out on a whim and say that clause might not be triggered maybe anytime soon. You know, I don't want to get ahead of myself, of course, but let's be serious, this one's a red for me. Anthony Martial had loads of potential. While that clause was a bit too much of an exaggeration, even at the time, I think a lot of people looked at that and thought maybe you're going a bit over the top. He definitely had potential to be there or thereabouts in the top 20-25 players in the world or in his position, and he never reached that. Let's be honest, some lockdown seasons was good, some Anthony Martial with gloves on against Everton, you know, that's all cute, that's all nice, but for the majority of the time he was very inconsistent, very injury prone, and overall I just don't think his attitude was that nice and good, because a lot of managers didn't really seem to like him that much. And look, I don't know what's going on with Anthony Martial right now. He might not be alive for all I know, but it's a red for me. It could have been so much more. It should have at the very least been an amber. If he could have kept that somewhat of that form he had during lockdown, it actually could have gone as far as to say a green. But like I said, it's that inconsistency for me with Anthony Martial. I guess the other Real Madrid midfielder, well, I'm going to tell you who it is right now, and that was Kovacic. In 2016 he was aged 21, base rating of 78 with a potential of 86, and Kovacic honestly is a player I really like. I think he's been underrated his whole career. But before we get into that, let's talk about what he was looking at in 2016. In 2016 he was another one that was looked at as a squad player, a rotational player, usually coming off for the Luka Modric, obviously both being Croatian superstars and international men. They looked at Kovacic to be the replacement for Luka Modric, as Luka Modric was still old even back then. Modric was 31 years old, so you looked at him and said you've only got a couple of more years, and then Kovacic, you can start in his place and take over from him, one Croatian to another. I don't think Modric will be playing at the high level for much more longer. Wait, what? He's still playing at the high level in 2024? Oh, sorry about that, Kovacic. Do you want to wait a little bit? No? Okay, now Kovacic is no longer a young superstar, as he's almost in his 30s. And that's basically the story of Kovacic's career, basically. He had to wait for that opportunity, and then eventually they decided to make the move, going on loan to Chelsea in 2019, and then the year later they decided to buy him for 45 million. And look, he helped them win the Champions League in the 21 season, and I think he actually is a really good player. I'm going to give this one a green. He's got 4 Champions Leagues, and while he wasn't the main star of most of those Champions Leagues, let's be honest, I still think he was a very useful squad option. Look, Real Madrid won 3 Champions League in a row. You're going to need squad rotations, and I always remember him coming off the bench and being part of that B team for Real Madrid that looked just as strong as most people's first team, and he was a very pivotal part for that. So for me, I'm going to give him a green. I also thought he was very underrated in his Chelsea stint. Now at Man City, he's been iffy to say the least, but I think this is now him coming down to the end of his career anyway. Nobody expected him to make that move to Man City and all of a sudden be the next De Bruyne almost. Let's talk about a clutch player, probably the most clutch player that we're going to talk about maybe in this whole series, and that's Divock Origi. At the age of 20, 2016, with a potential rating of 86 with his base rating 76. Now this one's quite an interesting one. He's a cult legend of Liverpool, not a legend, and obviously we know of all the stuff he done. We look, the Barcelona moment, the top Spur scoring against them. He's had some great moments, even the Everton one. When it comes to big moments, when it comes to Jurgen Klopp important goals, he's actually can make a compilation for him just being in the top 5, top 3. So for that alone, I'm gonna give Divock Origi a green. Honestly, look, as far as ability goes, I can't lie to you, I don't think he's actually as good as people want to make it out to be. I think a lot of people don't actually want to talk about it. When we talk about actual good ability, he's at AC Milan, and even at AC Milan, he's not really cooking that much, to be honest with you. But what he did in those short time, just being so useful for Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp in particular, when they couldn't find an answer, not being the main man, not being a Mo Salah or Mane or even Firmino, but yet somehow he was more clinical or more clutch when needed than all of those 3 anyway. Last but certainly no least, let's talk about Paulo Dybala at the age of 21, and many of you people are watching this video and thinking Dybala is probably still 21, if not he's somehow progressed in age, he's 19. Don't want to make you feel old, guys, at the end of this video, but he's 30 now. I know. I remember in 2016 thinking a lot of things about Paulo Dybala. 1, how good he was. 2, his amazing celebration. And 3, and most importantly, goddamn, he's very good looking, isn't he? Like, come on, let's all be honest with ourselves. He's a very good looking man. That's besides the point though. That's not going to win me extra brownie points. It is. It definitely is. Dybala was 78 with a potential rating of 88, and honestly, when Dybala got it cooking, he was absolutely amazing. Paulo Dybala was cooking. I'll tell you for a fact he was cooking. In 34 games in the 15-16 season, he got 19 goals, 9 assists. In the 2017-18 season, got 22 goals, 5 assists. When he was playing, he was genuinely unplayable and one of the best strikers in the world. Sometimes like playing that second striker almost role, the false nine. He was just so amazing to watch. And then there was a period of his career where it did kind of dip a little bit and you thought to yourself, oh, I really hope he can get back to what he was, because I feel like everybody liked Paulo Dybala. He's got to be one of the most popular people on this whole video. It's something about Paulo Dybala just made everybody like him. Maybe everybody else was also attracted to him as well. Maybe, I don't know what these guys are into nowadays, but he moved to Roma eventually, and that's where he actually managed to find somewhat of his form again, scoring 12 goals, 6 assists last season, and this season getting 12 goals, 7 assists, so already matching his goals from last season with 5 less games. I'm gonna give Dybala a green, maybe for those brownie points like I talk about, but also he's got a World Cup, 5 Serie A's, and he was just unplayable when he's there. Unfortunately, I do think his potential and overall what he could have reached should have been a bit more than it actually was. So if you look at it just by case study, you could honestly give him an amber, but if we're just judging on an overall basis, I am going to give him a green because I still think he was absolutely amazing when he caught it on. That is all for the place of football, and that is all for another FIFA Wonderkids. Don't worry, we'll be doing FIFA 17 soon, but make sure you're subscribed with notifications on, more importantly, so you never miss another one of my videos, non-FIFA related or FIFA related. And then when I do post the FIFA 17 Wonderkids, you will see it on your feed point right there. And make sure you're liking already, because these videos do take a long time. They take more than one day to edit because there's a lot of time to do. So make sure you're liking. It's so little. It's such the littlest thing you can do. Comment down anything you want in the comments. I'll be there replying to you and all that stuff. I hope you guys enjoy your day. Make sure you watch some more videos of mine because it's nice to do, and why not? And I think I'm pretty good at my job.